I thought I designed the perfect marriage, but I was building on quicksand. When my wife started taking mysterious business trips and password protecting her phone, I ignored the warning signs. But discovering that medical document hidden in her drawer changed everything. She'd terminated our unborn child without saying a word, then looked me in the eye and said, "My body, my rules." That's when I knew. This betrayal demanded more than just divorce papers. When you build a house, the foundation is everything. If the concrete is weak or the measurements are off, the whole structure eventually comes crashing down. The same goes for marriage. If it's built on lies or half-truths, no amount of love can save it from collapsing. I learned this lesson the hard way, and maybe my story can save someone else from making the same mistakes I did. My name is Jonathan Calloway, and I'm 42 years old. I'm an architect by trade, and I specialize in sustainable building design. I've always believed in creating structures that last, that withstand the tests of time and nature. It's ironic that I couldn't build a marriage with the same resilience. I grew up in a middle-class neighborhood in Portland. My father was a carpenter, and my mother taught elementary school. They weren't wealthy, but they gave me something more valuable than money. They showed me what a strong marriage looked like. They disagreed sometimes, sure, but they always treated each other with respect. They talked through their problems, compromised, and never went to bed angry. I wanted that same kind of partnership someday. I wasn't handed anything on a silver platter. I worked my way through college, taking out loans and working nights as a security guard to make ends meet. After graduation, I spent years grinding at established firms before finally taking the leap to start my own architectural practice. Calloway Sustainable Design began in my garage, with just me and a drafting table. 10 years later, we've designed eco-friendly buildings across the country, and I employ a team of 20 talented professionals. Success came through sacrifice, missed social events, working weekends, taking risks when others played it safe. But I always had a clear vision. I wasn't building this career just for myself. I wanted to create something lasting, something I could pass down to my children someday. A family legacy. When I met Sophia Mendez at a charity gala in Chicago, she took my breath away. She was promoting her digital marketing agency, which specialized in sustainability-focused brands. We connected instantly over our shared values about environmental conservation. Sophia was stunning, with her dark hair, quick smile, and the kind of confidence that filled a room. But more than her looks, I was drawn to her intelligence and ambition. Our first conversation lasted for hours. We talked about everything from climate change to our favorite hiking spots. She listened intently to my dreams about creating a home filled with children's laughter. She never said she wanted the same things, but she smiled and nodded in a way that made me believe we were on the same page. After dating for a year, I proposed under the stars at Crater Lake. When she said yes, I thought I'd found my partner, my equal, the woman who would help me build that family I'd always dreamed of. We were married 6 months later in a beautiful ceremony on the Oregon coast, surrounded by friends and family who toasted to our bright future together. The first few months of marriage were everything I'd hoped for. Sophia moved into my Portland home, and we fell into an easy rhythm of domesticity. I'd cook dinner while she told me about her latest marketing campaign. We'd take weekend trips to the coast, dreaming about our future together. I was the happiest I'd ever been. Little did I know that the foundation of our marriage was already beginning to crack. They say hindsight is 20/20. Looking back, I can now see the warning signs that appeared within months of our wedding. But love has a way of blinding you to reality. Sophia embraced a lifestyle my success provided with enthusiasm. She loved our Portland home, with its floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the forest. She enjoyed the luxury car I surprised her with on her birthday, the weekend getaways to wine country, and the designer clothes she could now afford. Her social media following grew as she posted about our sustainable luxury lifestyle, as she called it. 6 months into our marriage, I brought up the topic of starting a family. We were having breakfast on the patio, birds singing in the background, when I mentioned that one of the guest rooms would make a perfect nursery. "John, we've been married for 5 minutes," she laughed, stirring her coffee. "Can't we just enjoy being newlyweds for a while?" Her response seemed reasonable, so I backed off. But when I brought it up again a few months later, her reaction was different. "I just landed the eco-venture account," she said, her voice tight. "It's the biggest client my agency has ever had. The timing isn't right." Again, I understood. Building her marketing agency took priority. I respected her ambition. It was one of the things that had attracted me to her. I could wait. Around our first anniversary, something shifted. Sophia started taking more business trips, Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, always for important client meetings or industry conferences. She'd return home distracted, checking her phone constantly, disappearing into the home office for hours of urgent work calls. The physical distance grew alongside the emotional one. Gone were the casual touches as we passed in the hallway. The passionate kisses gave way to quick pecks on the cheek. At night, she'd roll to her side of our king-size bed, claiming she needed space to sleep. When I'd reach for her, she'd mumble about being exhausted. My best friend, Ryan, noticed the change during our monthly poker night. "Everything okay with you and Sophia?" he asked as the others left. "You seem, I don't know, tense." "We're fine," I said automatically. "She's just busy with work." The infidelity rumors about the Henderson couple have us both thinking about trust in relationships. Makes you realize how fragile marriage can be. But were we fine? The question lingered as I drove home, finding the house empty again. A text informed me Sophia had gone out with some work friends. I didn't know their names. I didn't know much of anything about my wife's life anymore. That night, staring at the ceiling while Sophia slept beside me, yet somehow miles away, I wondered if all marriages went through this phase. If this disconnect was normal. If my parents had ever felt like strangers to each other. I didn't know it then, but our marriage problems were just beginning. Our second year of marriage coincided with the biggest project of my career, an eco-friendly corporate headquarters for a major tech company. I was working longer hours, but I always made time for Sophia. I'd call during lunch breaks and try to schedule date nights whenever possible. She rarely reciprocated this effort. One evening, I came home early with takeout from her favorite Thai restaurant, hoping to surprise her. Instead, I found a note saying she'd gone out with friends. No details, no estimated return time. The gesture felt like another brick in the wall forming between us. When Sophia returned around midnight, her cheeks flushed from wine, I asked who she'd been with. "Just some industry people," she replied vaguely. "You wouldn't know them." "I'd like to," I said. "Maybe next time I could join you." She laughed. "You'd be bored to tears, John. All we talk about is marketing strategies and social media algorithms." The conversation ended there, but the feeling of exclusion lingered. Sophia had created a separate life, one where I wasn't welcome. Her business trips became more frequent and longer. A weekend conference in Chicago stretched to 5 days. A client meeting in Miami somehow required a full week. When I questioned the extended stays, she'd become defensive. "Are you monitoring me now? I'm building a business, John. That takes time." My trusted project manager, Diana, noticed my distraction during an important client presentation. "I've been married 15 years, she told me afterward. "Whatever's happening at home, don't let it affect your work. That's the one thing you can control." I try to follow her advice, pouring myself into designing sustainable buildings. If I couldn't fix my marriage, at least I could create structures that would stand the test of time. Meanwhile, our home life deteriorated further. Sophia redecorated our bedroom without consulting me, replacing the warm earth tones I loved with stark minimalist furniture and abstract art that felt cold and impersonal. She changed our dinner plans without warning and made major purchases without discussion. The emotional affair signs were increasingly obvious, but I kept denying them. The password on her phone changed. She started taking calls in another room. Her social media posts rarely included me anymore. One night, I found her laughing at her phone. When I asked what was funny, she quickly turned it off. "Nothing important," she said, but her eyes told a different story. That weekend, I suggested couples counseling. "Maybe we need some relationship advice from a professional," I said carefully, "to help us communicate better. We don't need a stranger telling us how to fix our marriage problems," she snapped. "I'm just busy with work. It'll pass." But it didn't pass. The distance between us grew wider each day, and I began to wonder if it could ever be bridged again. By our third anniversary, Sophia and I were essentially living separate lives under the same roof. The intimacy that once defined our relationship had evaporated completely. No more spontaneous hugs in the kitchen. No more holding hands during movies. No more passionate nights. When I initiated physical contact, she'd stiffen and pull away with a ready excuse. "Headache," Early meeting, too tired. My attempts at meaningful conversation were met with one-word answers or distracted nods as she scrolled through her phone. I threw myself into my work, spending long hours at the office designing a series of affordable eco-housing projects. The satisfaction of creating homes for others became a poor substitute for the broken home I returned to each night. Meanwhile, Sophia's social media presence flourished. Her Instagram account, once filled with our adventures together, now showcased solo trips and nights out with people I'd never met. In many photos, she wasn't wearing her wedding ring. When I asked about it, she dismissed my concern. "It doesn't go with certain outfits," she said with a shrug. "Don't be so old-fashioned." The final straw came when I discovered she'd booked a week-long trip to Bali without even mentioning it to me. "It's a retreat for digital influencers," she explained when confronted. "The invitation came last minute. You couldn't have texted me? Call. You've been so busy with your housing project. I didn't want to bother you with my schedule." Her tone suggested I was being unreasonable, that her deception was somehow my fault. Classic gaslighting from someone caught in a lie. The night before her trip, I arranged for a special dinner at home. Her favorite salmon dish, candles, the works. It was a last-ditch effort to reconnect before she left. She came home 3 hours late, already packed. "Sorry, had a client meeting that ran long," she said, barely glancing at the cold food and melted candles. "I need to get some sleep before my flight." That night, lying awake in our bed while Sophia slept soundly beside me, I confronted an uncomfortable truth. My wife was living her life as if she were single. Our marriage had become a formality, a checkbox on her tax forms. The betrayal wasn't dramatic. No lipstick on collars or suspicious hotel receipts. But it was betrayal nonetheless. A slow, insidious abandonment that hurt more than a single act of infidelity might have. Ryan invited me fishing the weekend Sophia was in Bali. Standing on the peaceful riverbank, I finally opened up about my marriage problems. "She's checked out completely," I admitted. "Sometimes I wonder if she's having an affair." "Would it matter?" Ryan asked, surprising me. "Seems like she's already gone, whether there's someone else or not." His words hit me like a punch to the gut. He was right. The Saving Marriage Advice columns always talked about communication and counseling. But how do you save a relationship when only one person is trying? It was a Tuesday afternoon when my world collapsed. I'd come home early with a migraine, something that rarely happened. The house was quiet. Sophia was supposed to be at a marketing conference in Seattle for 3 more days. I headed straight for the medicine cabinet in our master bathroom. As I rummaged through for painkillers, I knocked over Sophia's cosmetic bag. Its contents spilled across the counter, and among the lipsticks and compacts was a folded piece of paper. I shouldn't have opened it. Some part of me knew that whatever was inside would change everything. But I did. It was a medical document from Portland Women's Clinic, dated 2 weeks earlier. My eyes scanned the form, landing on the words pregnancy termination and 6 weeks gestation. The room seemed to spin. Sophia had been pregnant with my child. She had ended the pregnancy, and she had never said a word to me about either. I sat on the bathroom floor for what felt like hours, the paper clutched in my trembling hand. This wasn't a forgotten dinner plan or a hidden credit card purchase. This was a life-altering decision made without me, a potential child I would never know. Eventually, I made my way to the kitchen and poured a scotch neat. The liquor burned my throat, but did nothing to numb the pain. Questions raced through my mind. How long had she known? Why hadn't she told me? Was it because she knew how much I wanted children? Or was there something worse? Was the child perhaps not mine? I was still sitting at the kitchen island, surrounded by empty space, when I heard the front door open. Sophia walked in, suitcase in hand, freezing when she saw me. "John, what are you doing home?" Her voice was casual, but her eyes darted nervously to the paper on the counter. "Conference ended early," she continued, setting down her bag. "The keynote speaker got food poisoning, so they canceled the last 2 days." Another lie to add to the collection. I slid the medical document across the counter toward her. "You want to explain this?" Her face changed, hardening into something unrecognizable. She didn't bother denying it or apologizing. Instead, she straightened her shoulders and looked me directly in the eye. "There's nothing to explain. I wasn't ready for a baby. I made a decision." "A decision," I repeated, my voice hollow. "About her child, without even telling me. My body, my decision." Her tone was ice cold. I don't need your permission. In that moment, looking at this stranger who had once been my wife, I realized our marriage had been over long before I found that paper. This wasn't just about the pregnancy. It was about respect, partnership, and trust, all things that had apparently meant nothing to her. You're right, I said quietly. Your body, your decision. But this marriage involves both of us, and I deserve to know. She rolled her eyes, already scrolling through her phone. Are we done with the dramatics? I have calls to make. And just like that, she dismissed the most devastating moment of my life. That night, after Sophia retreated to her home office for her important calls, I sat alone on our back deck. The same deck where we'd once talked about our future, planned our lives, dreamed together. Now those dreams lay shattered around me, like broken glass. Her cold response to being caught, my body, my decision, kept echoing in my mind. Yes, it was her body, but we were married. We had vowed to face life's challenges together. Her unilateral decision showed exactly how little those vows meant to her. If she could hide something this monumental, what else was she concealing? The trust between us wasn't just damaged, it was obliterated. I called Ryan, my voice barely steady. I need a lawyer. A good one. What happened? Concern filled his voice. After I explained, the line went quiet for a moment. My cousin Jennifer is one of the best divorce attorneys in Oregon, he finally said. Specializes in high-asset cases. I'll text you her number. Divorce. The word hung in the air like a storm cloud. I never thought I'd be considering it, especially not because of such a fundamental betrayal. Yet here I was. The next morning, while Sophia was at the gym, I called Jennifer and scheduled a consultation for that afternoon. Her office was in a sleek downtown building with views of Mount Hood. The irony wasn't lost on me. I designed similar spaces for other professionals, never imagining I'd sit in one discussing the end of my marriage. You need to protect yourself, Jennifer said after hearing my story. Based on what you've told me, your wife has checked out of this marriage. Now we need to ensure she doesn't take half your business on her way out. She outlined a strategy: document everything, secure my financial accounts, prepare for Sophia to fight dirty. The cold calculation of it all made my stomach turn, but I recognized the necessity. Oregon is an equitable distribution state, she explained. That doesn't necessarily mean a 50-50 split, especially with a business you built largely before the marriage. We'll need to move quickly and strategically. On the drive home, a strange calm settled over me. The decision had been made. There would be no tearful conversations about saving our marriage, no couples counseling, no last-ditch efforts. Sophia had made her choice long ago. Now I was making mine. At home, Sophia was packing for another business trip. I'll be in New York until Tuesday, she said without looking up. The Williams account needs hands-on attention. I nodded, saying nothing about my afternoon meeting. Two could play the secrecy game. While she traveled, I would set the wheels in motion. By the time she realized what was happening, it would be too late for her to manipulate the situation. Have a good trip, I said, already mentally checking out of the conversation and the marriage it represented. For the first time in years, I felt in control. The path ahead would be difficult, but it was mine to walk. The moment Sophia's Uber pulled away from our driveway, I began executing my plan. Jennifer had outlined a clear strategy, emphasizing that timing and discretion were crucial. This wasn't just about ending a marriage. It was about protecting everything I'd worked for. First, I contacted my accountant and financial advisor. We spent hours reviewing my assets, moving funds from joint accounts to individual ones established before the marriage. I wasn't hiding money. Everything would be declared in the divorce proceedings, but I needed to secure what was rightfully mine. Your business is the priority, my accountant said. The company valuation will be a major point of contention. Next, I met with my business partner, Alex. Though visibly shocked by my news, he immediately stepped up. Take whatever time you need, he assured me. I'll handle the Miller project while you sort this out. I hired a digital forensics expert to back up and secure my electronic records, ensuring Sophia couldn't delete important files or communications. The specialist also helped me change passwords and secure my personal devices. You'd be surprised how often spouses try to sabotage electronic records during divorces, he told me. Better safe than sorry. The hardest task was finding a new place to live. I wasn't leaving our home permanently. That could complicate property division, but I needed somewhere to stay during the process. Ryan offered his guest house, a small but comfortable space overlooking the Columbia River. "It's yours for as long as you need," he said as he handed me the keys. Throughout these preparations, I maintained a facade of normalcy in my limited communications with Sophia. When she texted about some delivery she was expecting, I replied casually. When she called to complain about her New York hotel, I listened sympathetically, all while systematically untangling our lives. Jennifer filed the divorce papers on Friday, ensuring they would be processed before Sophia's return. The petition cited irreconcilable differences, a bland, legal phrase that couldn't begin to capture the depth of betrayal I felt. "She'll be served when she gets back," Jennifer explained. "The temporary orders will freeze your joint assets immediately, preventing her from emptying accounts in retaliation." I packed only what I absolutely needed: clothes, personal items, irreplaceable family photos, and essential documents. The rest could wait until the property division phase. On Monday evening, I made one final walk through the house we'd shared. So many memories, now tainted by deceit. In the kitchen where we'd cooked together, in the living room where we'd entertained friends, in the bedroom where we'd once connected, all now felt like movie sets where I'd played the role of a happily married man. I left my wedding ring on the counter with a simple note: "Attorney Jennifer Blackwell will contact you. Goodbye." By the time Sophia's plane landed Tuesday morning, I was already gone. Ryan's guest house became my sanctuary. The simple space overlooking the Columbia River offered solitude I desperately needed. Each morning, I'd watch the sun rise over the water, reminding myself that even after the darkest nights, light returns. 3 days after my departure, the storm hit. My phone exploded with notifications, calls, texts, emails, all from Sophia. I ignored them all, following Jennifer's advice to communicate only through legal channels. "The moment you engage directly, she'll try to manipulate you," Jennifer had warned. "Let me be the buffer." Through Jennifer, I learned that Sophia had been served the divorce papers upon returning home to an empty house. Her reaction was exactly what my attorney predicted: shock followed by fury followed by desperate attempts to regain control. "She's claiming you abandoned the marriage," Jennifer told me during our update call. "Her attorney is demanding you return to the house and unfreeze the accounts immediately." "And?" I asked, surprising myself with my steady voice. "And nothing. The temporary orders are in place. The judge denied their emergency motion. We proceed as planned." Work became my anchor. Alex had been handling the Miller project brilliantly, but I dove back in, losing myself in the clean lines and sustainable materials of the designs. Creating spaces for others helped me cope with the wreckage of my own. My team knew something was wrong. I was sleeping in my office some nights, my wedding ring was gone, but they respected my privacy. Only Diana approached me directly. "Whatever you're going through," she said, placing a coffee on my desk one morning, "remember you're not alone. We've got your back." Her simple kindness nearly broke me. The weeks that followed unfolded like a bizarre chess match. Sophia hired an aggressive attorney, known for scorched earth tactics in high-asset divorces. They demanded half of Callaway's sustainable design, despite the business predating our marriage by several years. They tried to claim I had hidden assets. They even suggested my decision to file for divorce was retaliation for her exercising her reproductive rights. Jennifer countered each move methodically, presenting documentation of the business's premarital establishment, transparent financial records, and, most damning, evidence of Sophia's prolonged emotional abandonment of the marriage. "They're getting desperate," Jennifer noted after a particularly hostile letter from opposing counsel. "They know they're losing ground." Through mutual friends, I heard Sophia was telling a different story, claiming I was having a midlife crisis, that I'd abandoned her without warning, that I was punishing her for prioritizing her career. The narrative painted her as the victim, me as the villain. Once, those accusations would have devastated me. Now, they only confirmed I'd made the right decision. The woman I'd married, the woman I thought I knew, had never really existed. "Stay the course," Ryan advised during one of our fishing trips. "The truth always surfaces eventually." I was counting on it. 6 months into the divorce proceedings, I finally felt like I could breathe again. Jennifer had proven her reputation well-earned, methodically dismantling each of Sophia's attorney's arguments with precision and foresight. "They're ready to settle," Jennifer announced during our morning call. Their latest offer acknowledges your sole ownership of the firm. They're no longer contesting the premarital assets. What changed? I asked, surprised by this sudden shift. Reality sank in. Their financial expert confirmed our business valuation. Plus, our evidence of Sophia's pattern of emotional abandonment was compelling. They're cutting their losses. The settlement terms were better than I dared hope. I kept my business entirely. The house would be sold, with proceeds split fairly based on respective contributions. Most importantly, I would be free, officially, legally free from a marriage that had become a charade. With the legal battle winding down, I turned my focus to rebuilding. I purchased land overlooking the Columbia River, not far from Ryan's property, and began designing my next home. Each line I drew felt like reclaiming a piece of myself, creating a space that reflected who I was now, not who I'd been as half of a failing marriage. Callaway's sustainable design continued to thrive. Our eco-housing project received national recognition, and we expanded the team to meet growing demand. Alex became a full partner in the firm, his steady leadership having proven invaluable during my personal turmoil. You should take some time off, he suggested after he signed a major new contract. The team can handle things for a few weeks. He was right. For nearly 7 months, I'd done nothing but work and deal with divorce proceedings. I needed perspective, distance, time to process everything that had happened. I booked a solo trip to a remote cabin in Alaska. No phone service, no internet, just mountains, forests, and the kind of silence that cleanses the soul. For 2 weeks, I hiked during the days and sketched new designs at night by firelight. Simple, peaceful, healing. The day before my return to Portland, I sat by a crystal-clear lake, watching eagles soar overhead. Somehow, miles from civilization, I finally found clarity about what had happened with Sophia. Our marriage hadn't failed because of her abortion, though that had been the breaking point. It had failed because she had never truly wanted the partnership I sought. She had wanted the benefits of marriage, financial security, social status, a beautiful home, without the commitment, communication, and compromise that real love requires. The realization didn't bring anger, only a strange sense of peace. I couldn't change Sophia or her choices. I could only change how I responded to them. And I had chosen self-respect over self-destruction. Back in Portland, I signed the final divorce papers with a steady hand. The weight I'd carried for so long finally lifted. I was no longer a husband, but I was fully myself again, architect, friend, and a man with renewed purpose. To new beginnings, Ryan said, raising a glass that evening. New beginnings indeed. 2 years after signing those final divorce papers, I stood on the deck of my completed home overlooking the Columbia River. The sunset painted the water gold and crimson, a fitting backdrop for the small gathering of friends celebrating the house's completion. This place represented everything I'd learned through my journey. Sustainable materials reflecting resilience, open spaces embodying transparency, and sturdy foundations built on honesty. The home was entirely mine, designed without compromise or concession. Quite a view, Ryan said, joining me at the railing. Worth every minute of the wait. It is, I agreed, though I'm not sure I would have appreciated it the same way before. Sometimes life's most painful lessons bring the most valuable perspective. The divorce had finalized smoothly once Sophia realized she couldn't win. She'd kept her marketing agency and her carefully curated social media presence. Last I heard through mutual acquaintances, she'd moved to Los Angeles and was dating a film producer. I genuinely hoped she found whatever she was looking for. Callaway Sustainable Design had expanded to 30 employees with offices in Portland and Seattle. Our focus on eco-friendly urban housing developments had earned us recognition from environmental organizations and architectural publications alike. Alex and I had brought on 2 additional partners, allowing me to focus on the creative aspects of design that I loved most. Speech, called Diana, who had recently been promoted to project director. Our guests gathered around, glasses raised. I looked at the faces surrounding me, colleagues who had become friends, friends who had become family. These were the relationships built on mutual respect and genuine caring. To new foundations, I said simply, and to all of you who helped me build them. Later, as the party wound down, I found myself alone in my study. On the desk sat the framed sketch of my very first design, a tree house I'd built with my father when I was 10. Beside it stood a model of our latest project, an award-winning sustainable community center. The contrast between them represented my journey, from simple dreams to complex realities, from naive trust to hard-won wisdom. I often thought about what I would tell my younger self if I could. Perhaps just this: when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Sophia had never explicitly said she wanted children or shared my vision for our future. I had projected my dreams onto her silence, hearing what I wanted to hear. That evening, as moonlight reflected off the river below my window, I felt a sense of completion. The betrayal that had once threatened to destroy me had instead forced me to rebuild. Not just my life, but myself. My phone buzzed with a message from an architect I'd met at a green building conference. We've been talking regularly, slowly getting to know each other. Unlike my rush into marriage with Sophia, this connection was developing thoughtfully, with clear communication and shared values confirmed, not assumed. Still on for hiking this weekend? Her text read. Absolutely. I replied, smiling at the simple honesty of the exchange. Life had come full circle, and this time I was building on truth.